Welcome back to this week's episode of the MVP Real Estate Podcast, Season 4, Episode 5, with Mike Mannino, originally from Michigan, now living in South Carolina. Very impressive, resume, if you'd call it that. Uh, decade in real estate, over 100 properties flipped, over 100 or 80 properties flipped, and then over 100 rental properties owned right now. But obviously that fluctuates as he buys and sells. But he kind of gets into the detail on all that, which, man, he understands his strengths and he maximizes them. Like that
Absolutely.
was the coolest thing that I got to see, and to learn it early on in the system that he was building was obviously proof to his success.
Yeah.
So let's bring him on the show. He can talk about it. So thanks for joining us, Mike. Happy to have you here. You've already rubbed it in our face that you're in a warm climate, so you'll get into where you are. But I always start off the show the same way. Give us a background of where you came from or what you were doing. It could be personal, business, but it sounds like it's been real estate from the jump with you.
Thanks, man, for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, so it seems like that because I'm maybe like young and I've been doing it for a long time, but I tried like many different things in the beginning. Like, at 16 years old, I was working at McDonald's, and 17, I'm bussing tables. 18, I'm waiting tables. And I can talk about it later, but I bought my first foreclosure house. I was trying to, become wealthy any way I could. I had my life and health insurance license. I was studying for my securities license. I got my mortgage license, my real estate license. I was selling t-shirts online. I was doing all these different things. And
Hustling.
yeah, hustling. But, I'm doing all this up till I was 21 years old. So it seems like, I've been doing real estate just one thing, but I tried a lot of things. And then I realized, 90% of millionaires are made through real estate. I'm like, okay, I'm not that smart. I barely graduated high school. So maybe I'll just try the path of least resistance and just become rich this way, right? So I started flipping houses. We flipped over 90 houses now since I went full-time in 2017. And I own over 109 apartments that pay us every single month. And that's where I'm at now. So right now, I'm not selling t-shirts online anymore. I am just 100% committed to real estate.
The Shopify account has been shut down.
It's funny. It's sad. If I looked at the stock price of the Shopify account back then, I was like, man, if I would have put the couple $1,000 in the stock, I'd be sitting a
I
lot
know,
prettier.
I know. But it sounds like you're sitting pretty good so far with everything you've done. And that is, like, how old are you right now?
And I'm 31 now.
Okay, so over a decade, you've had
hmm
what, 109. I'm
Rentals.
sure that number has fluctuated with rental properties.
Yeah. I mean, like last month or 2 months ago, we just bought 44 apartment building in Kentucky. So it does fluctuate, right? And then we're selling a 17 unit, so it does fluctuate. I try not to sell my apartments as much as my houses, but yeah, we've done over 90 flips of houses, single family houses.
That's awesome. And that was in the Midwest or Michigan area?
Yeah, so I grew up in Michigan, and that's where I started flipping because it's like my own backyard, right? So
What part of Michigan?
Metro Detroit. So in
Okay.
between all the cities that touch Detroit, not the city itself, we don't invest in there. We leave that for the out-of-state investors who think it's a nice return.
Yeah.
So we buy in the
Oh, I
suburbs.
got questions on this, so we're
Yeah,
touching
okay.
on that one.
All right. But
Um,
yeah, we flip in all the suburbs of Metro Detroit, and we do the single family first time home buyer homes, 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. We don't do any of the luxury stuff.
that's cool. And I know that, and the reason I asked what part of Michigan is because I would be one of those outside investors looking in, and I'm like, how can there be a house for 7 grand? Like that isn't real. But in the Detroit market, there are some pockets where you can pick up houses for like dirt cheap. I'm picturing the area would be like a CD area, but I don't
No
know the
C.
area, so I don't do out of state yet.
Yeah,
That's
no
not
C. They got Fs in Detroit. Well, and like, and all jokes aside, I mean, the reality of it, because I'm in these, my friends flip there, and I have zero desire. 'Cause it's hard enough to make money flipping houses. Yeah, just getting stolen all the time. Like, so uh, there was someone who was doing a flip. Their AC unit was stolen 3 times, even after they put the cage around it and everything. Right.
Really?
So they spent, $10,000 to $12,000 in AC units for, one AC unit. You call the police, they don't show up. I mean, it's just kind of lawless. So there's a reason why it's cheap.
Yeah. I remember going to a RIA meeting. This was like when I wasn't even started in real estate. I was like entertaining the idea. I was in my sell t-shirts online stage of like, where do I want to go with this? And one guy was like, "Hey, the Milwaukee UWM like college market is very enticing because you can buy a cheap home, it'll cash flow, but your cash flow is only coming in if they pay. So you have to look at the clientele, and then you have to look at like the damage that's being done, or like you're saying, the crime, and you're like, is it worth it? Is that
That's
what you
what
want to do?"
the damage, like you said, like, a window cost me $650, no matter what, if it's in a $7,000 house or if it's in a $300,000 house. The
Yeah,
price to paint it is $3 a square foot almost now. The cabinets cost the same, drywall repair costs the same, and then when they're damaging these properties, that's the thing. You put in $10,000 in a $7,000 house. What is the house worth now? $8,000, right? You just took a
yeah,
loss, so it's not worth it.
yeah. And that's what I've
And if I don't mind touching on it, so for everyone listening to this, what's the most important thing? So why I moved to South Carolina and why a lot of my investments are now in the South is looking at the population growth. If you go on Google, type in Detroit population, 1990, there's over 1 million people. Today, there's only 660,000 people,
yeah,
right? So would you invest? It looks like this. It's like, would you invest in a stock that does that for 30 years, just shrinking every single day? Versus you type in places like Charlotte, North Carolina, places like around Atlanta, Georgia, and Kentucky. You just see the opposite, where it's just continued growth. So what I love about real estate is you don't have to be like a rocket scientist. You just see the graphs. You're like, okay, this isn't going to work out well. There's no
yeah,
businesses moving to Metro Detroit. They're leaving. If you
yeah.
look, Ford just built a power plant in Kentucky to build electric cars. Um, you know, right here in Blythewood, South Carolina, we got Volkswagen. Here near Greenville, we have BMW. That they're building all these new plants to be all new jobs. It's funny, I left the Motor City, and I feel like I moved to like the new Motor City, but so it's really important to look at where businesses are coming and investing in
Yep.
versus like leaving in stagnant growth.
Yeah. And we had that big, I mean, opposite of Motor City kind of shrinking in Detroit, like when the Amazon plant came into Kenosha, that was like a big deal because like that's a lot of jobs that are needed, and jobs mean people and people mean housing. So when you have a declining population like Detroit did, when did Ford move out of Detroit? Was that late
I'm,
90s?
I'm not sure when they moved out, but I know that they are because they still have like a presence. I'm not the greatest with these car companies, but I do know that my welder buddy from Michigan was in Kentucky for 12 months welding the new building in Kentucky. Um, so as long as there's new like tax incentives and where people are going, like, and was Apple just built $1 billion plant in uh, Raleigh, North Carolina as well. So,
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
mhm.
Okay, so getting bigger down there.
Yep, it's growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were about to touch on kind of your mindset of how you look at investing. So if we can jump into that, because you were like, I follow the trends, it's all a
Yeah.
numbers game, it's not rocket science. But
Yeah.
there's a mentality to your madness, I'll call it.
Yeah,
So
there's a method to it.
what got you into like, all right, I'm jumping into real estate.
Yeah.
I know Detroit is shrinking. It's not, I don't know when you started if you knew Detroit wasn't your long-term plan,
Hmm.
but it sounds like your mentality kind of stayed the same, but then you found an end of the road in Detroit, so you went on to the next, I guess, growing population. So
Yeah.
I would go
Very,
back into your beginning, like your mentality. Has it changed? Like, has it evolved, or like how do you feel, or what would you tell the audience, like who was in your shoes, selling t-shirts on Shopify and thinking about real estate?
yeah, very good question. So, like I said, I started off like the biggest mindset shift I had in my life was actually way back when I was 13 years old. I was diagnosed with something called Crohn's disease, which is kind of like an ulcer in your stomach where it hurts to eat, go to the bathroom. I was on 16 pills a day. And it's something you have to go to the hospital once a month for an IV drip. And, people get colonoscopy bags and they in hospitals and surgeries and life threatening as well. And that was the biggest blessing I've ever received in my life because when you're a kid that young, you don't think of life as, you don't think of dying and death and the things that could go wrong. I mean, because as a kid, you could go like break your leg and then next week just go like run a marathon. You're just like, you're
You
invincible.
recover very well.
Yeah, right. Like Wolverine, right?
Hmm.
Um, So that taught me that life is like precious and that it can be taken away at any time. So I was like a stressed out kid. I was like a germaphobe and I was in all these after school activities. And then like I really just focused on my health. And I came across Jack Canfield's work, who's Chicken Soup for the Soul. There's a movie called The Secret, and there's a book of it as well. I've seen the movie 18 times from 13 to 16 years old
Okay.
because there's a part in there where there's a lady who had breast cancer and they did an x-ray and they could see the cancer in her breast and she just believed that she was healed. She ate right, exercised, watched comedy, relieved all stress because a disease is your body that's not at ease or dis-ease. So she started focusing on healing herself with no medications, uh, uh, no like treatment from doctors. I believe in 6 to 9 months, they did the x-ray again and the cancer was gone. And I was like, okay. So like, I have nothing to lose, so let me try this, right? So I watched the movie so many times, I believed I was healed and I ate right, and that's why I'm like walking a treadmill desk with a 20-pound weight vest, like to help my body. And so I was going through that from 13, 16 years old. I was taking 16 pills a day. And then 16 years old, I just like stopped cold turkey, which I don't recommend doing, but I stopped and now I'm 31. So 15 years later, thank to God, I have not been to doctors. I haven't taken medication. I haven't had any signs of, struggles with my body. And I
Good.
appreciate that a lot because I know that tomorrow I could wake up and things could be completely different. That's the reality, right? That's the risk I
Yeah.
took. And so that was the biggest mindset shift is like at a young age, I learned that we don't have a lot of time and that you can do a lot. You can, with your mind, you can heal yourself. You can um, uh, do whatever you want if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. And I've
So,
read The Secret. I have not
mhm,
watched the movie, and I have not watched it 18 times, but I've read the book. I know there's a series. There's like The Secret, The Power. I
sure.
thought there was two other ones, but so I read The Secret. After I read that book, um, as you like, I always would do research on little things that caught my eye, or you underline or highlight as you read. And I remember that was about the time that I started reading about Dr. Sebi.
Know
Have you
that.
heard that name?
No.
Yeah.
He's a doctor. There's like a whole tinfoil hat conspiracy around him too, but he said that he could cure cancer. And
Okay.
that's basically what he got on trial for, and they tried to discredit him. But all he was saying is like you can eliminate cancer or illness with inflammation. Everything is
Mm,
inflammation. What you eat and what you put in your body is causing inflammation, which will present itself with this disease. So you eliminate inflammation, you eliminate disease. So like eating better, exercising, doing all those things to eliminate the inflammation will lead to a better, healthier,
He
more
said something
functioning
else
body.
about he said saying something else about like reducing or trying to limit or remove like the mucus within your body too, because that's what most of
Yeah,
it binds
mucus
to.
is caused by inflammation.
Yeah.
So
So like
everything is mucus. But like it just ties in well with like you treat your body well and it
yeah.
will produce for you.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that at such a young age too.
Yeah, I was very blessed, like I said. So, going through that, so I took life like very like serious, because I'm like, I don't know, I met people who've passed away from it, and I don't know what's to come. So I always live life like as if I'm gonna die tomorrow, but also if I'm like gonna live to 100 years old. Like, so um I started working young because I wanted a car, and I grew up middle class. My dad's a carpenter, so I wanted a car, a cell phone, anything I had to pay for. So I worked in the summer. 16 years old, I started working at McDonald's 20 hours a week, which is the legal limit you can at 16 years old while going to school 35 hours.
Yep.
So I was just used to putting in the time. So um, I worked McDonald's, busboy, waiter. 19 years old, I actually bought a house. Which, if you're listening to this and you're young, you have young kids, I highly recommend. I got an FHA loan, which is where you put 3.5% down on a house. I only had $14,500 saved up, right? And I was able to put 3.5% down on a foreclosed house back in 2012. So I bought this 3-bed, 2-bath house for $67,000.
Wow.
And I moved in and I fixed it up, and I did house hacking, which I didn't even know what it was, because there was no podcast back then. It wasn't popular. And I did house hacking where I rented out the other 2 bedrooms to people I was waiting tables with. So I just did like roommates,
Yeah.
and my mortgage was $600 a month, and they were paying $300 a month each. And I was like, sweet, I got a free house, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just paying a third of utilities, going to community college, waiting tables, um, so I did that. So I bought it at 19, 22. I sold the house for $147,000. I was like, oh my God, which is so much money, because I had like $60,000 check I'm holding or something like that. And that's 3 years of waiting tables. Like, I was making $20,000 a year, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is insane, right? So I humbled myself, moved back home with mom and dad for another 2 years. So even after having a house, moved back home with mom and dad within 30 days. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm going all in. I bought another foreclosed house for $50,000, and I fixed it up, sold that for 140. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again.
Nice. Your
That's
story
amazing.
reminds me of David Green, because he always talks about his start and how he was a waiter, and
Okay.
he would like mathematically find out what would be the best times to work, what would be the best tables. Like he had everything down to the dollars and the hours, and it was all to pump back into real estate. And then obviously as that took over, he stopped doing the waiter, and then he became a police officer, and then he found out he could pick up extra shifts in overtime, and all of it was just moving into this career of real estate, which it sounds like you were doing.
Yeah, so I did that, and in between that was like trying to do financial planning and selling t-shirts, but you know, I'm not as smart as David Green. I just went like, I don't like having a job,
Mhm.
and I'm willing to work my face off. So, if I can, work 70 hours a week and make 100 grand a year without a job, without a boss, and flip houses, like I am set. Like life is
Yeah.
like I've made it. It's a pinnacle, right? So that was like my goal back then.
Yeah, and how old were you when you bought first house and second house? Was it 16, 17,
19.
So I
19?
was 19 years old when I bought my first house, and then
Okay.
I sold it at like 22 years old, and I bought my first flip
Okay. So
immediately
as
after.
a 19, 22-year-old range
Hmm.
guy, you're buying these houses. Are you fixing them yourself? Or are you going to get general contractors and
Good question. So the first one I did myself. It took me 6 weeks to tile the bathroom, my personal house. I hated every minute of it, and it looked like crap. And I was like, I would fire myself if it took 6 weeks to tile a bathroom. Like it was just so painful, because I'm on YouTube, like how to tile. And so
did it
good
hold up?
question. No, it held up. It looks
All
great.
right.
No, I mean, it looks great, but I realized, I was like, okay, this isn't scalable with me doing it. This isn't my superpower. Like
Mhm.
I like looking at deals and analyzing and the underwriting, and hey, what's the value of the property? I like doing that, like being the business owner, not so much like the operator of it and like the implementer.
Yeah.
So the first one I did myself. The second one, I bought the house. This is really funny. So I bought the house for 50 grand and I had $60,000 check. So I have 10 grand in my name and I own this house, this foreclosed house again. And I'm like, Dad, how about, because he was in construction, he had 2 or 3 guys working for him. So how about you have your guys go in there? They fix it up. You finance the rehab of 30 grand. I already own the house. And then we split it 50-50. I already took all the risk of buying this thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool. So then that's how we did it. He had his guys go in there. They fixed it up. And I was still not helping a little bit, but a lot less.
Yeah.
And then it probably took me to like my 4th or 5th house when I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm not touching these houses. Like I was like mowing the lawn to save a couple bucks and like, showing up all the time. And then I
Yep.
got to the point where I'm like, all right, this isn't scalable. I hired a mentor who flipped 100 homes. He's like, I don't see them in person. And life is great. I chase my wife around the house all day. And I listened to a podcast with that. And I was like, what? This guy's a liar. Because I'm doing one house.
Yeah.
I'm at Home Depot 3 times a day. Like, I have no time. This is impossible. So then I learned like how to turn it into a business instead of like a hobby, instead of like me doing all the work, but how to actually like, we have employees now and subcontractors and have the contractors and our standardized pricing sheet for the materials and our lenders, like how to actually make this a real business so it's predictable and scalable instead of a one-off. We do 1 or 2 a year. We do about 20 houses a year.
Okay.
Last year's a little slower. We think we did like 14. But yeah, that's where our business is at today.
Okay. Because I'm picturing like me at 19 to 21 trying to vet contractors out. Like that's a scary, because you don't know what you don't know. And you
Yeah.
already said like that's not my superpower and that's not where your
Mhm.
focus was going to be. So for you to scale, there comes a certain amount of delegation. And you're
Yes.
delegating to people that you don't know from Adam. You're just like, hey,
Hmm.
I'm trusting you with this like, I don't know,
And I didn't know
livelihood.
what a house was made of. I didn't know what was
Yeah.
behind drywall. I was like, I didn't know it was studs, 16 inches apart, insulation, some, wires and plumbing. Like I really had
Yeah.
no idea. And like I remember I hired my first like this landscaper guy and I got, so okay, and this is the thing. You're gonna get like taken advantage of. You're gonna hire the wrong person, that's okay. Just realize it, it's gonna happen. Happens to
Mhm.
me today. I'm not invincible. I try really, really hard to vet new contractors. Um, but it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just like riding a bike or anything after a while. And what I did too is I partnered up with my dad, who was a construction guy. So then he was dealing with the contractors. So I delegated that task to him, to someone else who was more experienced, who was older, not some 19-year-old kid talking to contractors, right? And I was like, okay, I'll do all the other work, find houses, raise the money, do the closings, list the properties. I got my real estate license. You just deal with the contractors and make sure we're not getting taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And that's how we started the company. So if you're new, um, I recommend, like, I actually have a student right now and I'm just working on his first house and he's partnering with his contractor and they're splitting the equity on the property. And so now the contractor is incentivized to perform because that's how
Right.
he's going to get paid. Um, so there's ways to, like you said, delegate, right? It's kind of like work on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Um, so.
And that caught my ear when you were talking about like you knew from beginning on where your superpower was.
Mhm.
And you're like, all right, if this is going to go, this is where I have to stay. Just so I don't clog the wheel up. Like you want to create good, nice, well-greased wheels so that this thing can take off. And if you realize that you are the dirt in your gear,
100% bottleneck in your
you gotta
business.
you gotta step
Mhm.
aside, get somebody in that role to actually take it. And if that's their superpower, it's only gonna make it all better.
And that's it. Like my contractors, like they hate doing the paperwork. So that's why I created this standardized pricing sheet where I have the material and labor broken down for 350 items we do to a house, down to the doorknobs, right? So there's no bidding. They know that they will show up, they do work. Here's the products, they make money. They love that. I make their job so easy because good contractors just want to do good work. They don't want to go do bids, bid too much, they don't get the job, bid too little, they lose money. That's
Yep.
not fun. Good contractors just want to show up and do good work, and that's I like doing that. I'm a very organized person, so like I use my superpower to help them. I'm always like, how can I help make everyone else's job easier?
And how
Yeah.
much is it for that sheet?
I was gonna dive into that one. That sounds like super cool. So you've got your Rolodex of, that was a 90s reference. You've got your Rolodex of contractors that you use.
Oh my God.
What?
Your contact list, your contacts
Rolodex.
app,
Rolodex,
something.
Everybody
yeah,
knows a
I remember the
Rolodex.
Rolodex. Yeah, I
I know it's
remember.
an old reference. Everybody knows a Rolodex.
Yeah, you're like,
You're
oh,
working
we
with
need this,
those same contractors. So when you contact your electrician, you're like, hey, here's the scope of work. They can reference the page that you built. Like each outlet is going to be $20. Each
Yes.
light is going to
Yeah.
be $50. They know what they have
Correct.
to do, so they know what they're going to be billed.
Yes.
They don't have to come out and walk through the property. You can just give them the sheet. That's your price. That's what it is.
So yes, so
I like
for
that. For two
95%
reasons.
of the house, it's like it's in there. Like you said, light switches, lights, plumbing handles, doors, trim, price per square foot of paint, flooring, etc. Um, there's things that's not in there, like like swapping out a electrical panel. I mean, I know it's gonna cost me like about $2,500. Um, but that's not in there because the price kind of fluctuates a little bit with uh material and labor on that. But
Yeah.
everything else I can buy from Home Depot, like because all of our houses are Home Depot houses. Like we have all the products just listed out, the toilets and vandies and faucets and everything. And then I have the labor for each thing. So this helped us a ton because we were paying our guys at first like hourly. And when you're paying your guys hourly, they're incentivized to work slower to do the job. They make more money. And so I flipped the script. Now they're incentivized to work quicker so that they'll make more money, right? It's like a commission based almost. That's how we do it. We pay $50 of labor for each cabinet, and in a house with let's say 12 cabinets, that's $600. How long is it going to take you to hang 12 cabinets? Oh, I mean another guy 4 hours, right? You want to make $600 in 4 hours? Cool, go do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's taken our rehab time down from 6 weeks to 4 weeks, which saves us money on overhead of property taxes, insurance, cost of money, all the overhead. And then they work quicker, so they get a job quicker, and then they can work on the next project quicker.
Yeah.
And they make more money. They show up earlier, stay later, and we don't have to babysit them as much because they know they get paid per task that's done.
Right. And I'm imagining you don't have many subcontractors pushing back on that form.
No, we've had 3 crews since I've almost started. We've only had one leave for 6 months because I can go make more money elsewhere. Because it like ours is like a volume game. He's like, oh, I get paid higher like dollar per hour somewhere else. Okay, cool. Comes back 6 months later. He's like, oh my God, they didn't pay me. They're dicks. All these different things, right? And all these change orders. I'm like, yeah, like we have no change orders. We're super easy to work with. We give them coffee and donuts. We give them we do Christmas parties at Top Golf. We give them birthday presents. Like we treat them like family. And so they do like a lot more for us when you help out other people like that.
Yeah, and for contractors to delineate between like I'll say a customer facing where they have to go out and bid Joe's bathroom,
Yeah,
like that takes all this time. You have to
exactly.
bid out the job, and then like you said, are they going to pay? Like, do we have to put a lien on this? Like, there's a lot of
Exactly.
admin stuff on top
I
of it.
I have another contractor who's been with us since 2017, where it really first started, and he used to do that work and he hated it. And he has not looked back. His employees like, hey, we should do because they'll once in a while do some customer's bathroom or something. He's like, no. He's like, I hate that work because again, all those things. Do they pay? Change orders, their quality, all these different things, and bidding too much, don't get the job. Bidding too little. So he's like so committed to us. It's awesome, and it's cool to see like someone who used to do that line of work for like a decade before he started working with us, and now he's like so committed to us. He's like only wants to work on our projects because it's so easy for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I would have to say you are probably one in few that actually offer a good, as an investor, a
Mhm.
good return or a good process for a sub. Because
Yeah,
you talk to subs now and they're kind of 50-50. They don't like the negatives of working with customers, but they don't like working with investors because of this. And usually it's because like, oh, investors are trying to go cheap. Like
yeah,
you're not gonna you'll get work and you'll be busy, but you won't make a lot of profit because everybody's working on a budget and everybody's going to be super constrained to fit
Yeah.
in. So they feel like, all right, if I work with investors only, we'll be super busy throughout the year and we'll look super busy, but we're not going to be
Not to be
making.
profitable. Yeah. Yep. No, I know. I get that. And that's why we only stick to about 20 houses a year because we
Yeah,
only buy deals that fit in our buy box. Like we
yeah,
are very conservative so that everyone makes money, so that we make money at the end, our contractors make money. And that's why I don't want to grow to like 100 houses a year because I know my margins are going to have to shrink. My overhead's going to go up. So I
yeah,
really like where our business is at. We have a very small team. The overhead is, not too crazy and it's profitable, which because I met people who they do 100 houses a year and I look at their numbers versus mine and we make the same amount of money or I make more sometimes because they have so much more overhead. So they
yeah,
look like, oh my God, look how successful they are, but they're like their business is basically on fire and it's like insane. So I've thankfully met and learned from people who have those type of businesses and I realize like, hey, at what scale do I want to be? Like how big do I want to grow this thing? And I really like where our business is at.
yeah. It sounds like it's doing really well. And that pricing sheet is such a good idea. Like I know just from speaking to subs, if we had that up here, that would
Yeah.
alleviate a lot of tension from some of
I
the
have
sub
spent
investors.
thousands of hours putting that together and three developers tens of thousands of dollars putting it together. It
I can
took
imagine.
years, but I knew because I learned it on my second flip. Like God love my dad, but it helped me learn real quick. On the second flip, I'm like, hey, it was like a 1,400 square foot house. How much is it going to cost to rehab this house? He just walks in. He's like, all right, 14,000 bucks. And I'm new. I'm like, okay, or 15,000. And I was like, okay, all right. So here's the number. I plug in my calculator, 15,000. Boom, we can buy the house. It works. I'm like, sweet. And then like the end of it, it costs 45,000 to rehab. I'm like, dude, what the heck? You can't like. He's like, I'm sorry, I messed up. I'm like, that's all the profit. We made $9,000 on our second flip. And I was like, oh my god, like what the heck? I could have worked at McDonald's and made more money. And I hate working for free. So I was like, all right, how can we like fix this so that we don't just walk in and like maybe it's this, right, and just throw a ballpark number? No, but actually you can even fill out the sheet beforehand and get to 90% accuracy before you even start the project because you're plugging everything in. I mean,
Yeah.
there's of course the things you rip something out, there's mold or you got rotted boards. Sure, there's always that, but you can get like really, really close instead of just walking in throwing a pie in the sky number.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes the process so much easier. And I imagine as you're going through your flips, you probably have that form, like making notes of what all needs to happen.
Yeah, so at this point, like I said, our contract has been with us for so long. We just give them an address and we show up. I have my actually partner drove down here from Michigan, here, and he goes there once a week, checks on the guys, but they know exactly everything to do because they've been with us so long. So he does walk through it, like, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna add a bedroom over here, we're gonna do whatnot, but then they know all the materials to do. And then it's cool, like, so I built this out for the flips. And then in 2020, started buying apartment buildings. And I've used the same thing for apartments because apartments is the same process of finding a deal, rehabbing it, managing it, raising capital. It's just more zeros at the end. So I'm making $35,000 per flip on a house. You make like $700,000 on an apartment building. And we use the same pricing sheet. Like I'm actually going up to North Carolina in 2 hours to go check my 19 unit we're ripping apart right now for this contractor I found. I showed him the sheet and he's like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I was like, I
Yeah.
know. And it's working with him and they're actually putting in cabinets in 5 of the units right now. We just bought a 44 unit in Kentucky and doing the same exact thing. I just sent the scope of work to our property management company yesterday because we're gonna be rehabbing units over there. And it's cool because like all the work I did in the single family space, you can just move it to the multifamily space. And so it's like transferable, like all the same skills I learned
Yeah.
in like this pricing sheet.
Yeah. And now that you've been doing flips for so long, now you go into the buy and hold investment style. Do you like that style? Is that why you went there, or was that just something new you wanted to like try and flex a new muscle and see if you could take it somewhere?
Good question. So a little bit of everything. Like you said, flex a new muscle. I didn't buy my first rental until 40 houses. I did 40 flips. So I meet a lot of new investors. Like I'm going to wholesale, I'm going to flip, I'm going to do some burrs, I'm going to do all these different things. And you're not going to be extremely successful at any of them unless you focus. Like, so I became the best. Like I created that pricing sheet. I put all the systems. That's just one of the things in our business. All the systems and processes in place before I could take my eye off the ball and focus on a rental because it's different. I
Yeah.
was looking to build a cash producing machine. And then once I got to a point where I was working only about like 5 to 10 hours per week on the flipping business, because I hired someone else, Olivia, who's my office manager, takes over my day-to-day operations, and she's underwriting deals, submitting offers, title companies, lenders. Then I could like, okay, flex a new muscle, try something new, right? Like I'm kind of bored in this because I've create a really good system, which is good. And then there's also more benefits. If I can make more money, flipping is our first one is a 6 unit apartment building. And then also the passive cash flow. And then I've learned you always have a money problem. Did you know that you always have a money problem?
Yes.
Because when
Yeah.
you're poor, you have a money problem, right?
Yeah.
And when you're wealthy, Uncle Sam wants half of it. You have a money
Yeah.
problem. You have a new money problem.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing with real estate, like how like Trump and all these rich people like really mitigate their taxes is buying commercial real estate. There's a lot of depreciation you can actually use to offset your active income of flipping houses. So which is
Yep.
nice. There's a lot of tax benefits. And to everyone listening, I'm not a tax advisor, CPA, talk to someone else. I barely graduated high school. Don't listen to me.
It's a good
So
disclaimer right there, just for entertainment purposes. But it is true. So you kind of moved into rental, one, because it was kind of an easy transition, but
yeah.
also in the game of chess, that's kind of like the next move where,
So in two, and I met my buddy, and I always so like my first mentor is Justin Williams, the guy who flipped a bunch of houses. I went and learned from him, and then I met someone else who, which is great, like that's a great business. But then I met someone else who my partner Adam now, I'm very blessed to call my partner. Um, he had like 55 units he owned himself, self-managed it and everything. And him and his family go to Hawaii for 4 months a year. And he's from Michigan. And he leaves Christmas, day after Christmas, December 26th, comes back, middle of April.
that's a
And
great time to be out of the Midwest.
exactly, yeah, he times it perfectly.
Yeah.
Um, and his kids are homeschooled, and I see his life. I'm like, wow, like, he's showing me the numbers. He's making almost $20,000 a month because he's managing it, and it doesn't take a lot of time. He's got a maintenance guy, and he's just like living life. I call him at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. What are you doing? I'm taking the goat to the vet. I mean, taking the goat to the vet. I mean, like he just does whatever the hell he wants. So, like, flipping houses is like hair's on fire. I feel like all the time. It's like, you make a lot of money. But then I also wanted like the long-term thing. Like I know Social Security is not going to be there. The day you stop flipping houses, the day your paychecks turn off.
Mhm.
With buying, apartments, you can, it's amazing too. You know what's crazy? So I have this 16-unit apartment building in North Carolina. Beautiful brick building. Uh, all the units are 2 bed, 1.5 bath, townhome style, hardwood floors, gorgeous on 2 acres. I mean, it's my retirement plan. It's a beautiful neighborhood. And it was built in 1965. And I'm like, God, how much was this thing built for? 1965. How much do you think a 16,000 square foot brick apartment building, 16 units, was built for in 1965?
$37,000.
This is in Detroit?
No, this is North Carolina, near Greensboro.
165.
I would say 37 to 45,000 is a
I want to
decent
go to
idea.
70 to 80.
Wow. All right. Well, I was way off. You guys are very conservative, but that's good. So it was so I looked, the average house price in 1965 was built for $16,500. So I'm not good at math, so I'm going to round it up to 20,000, cut it in half because for a unit, so it might have cost about 160,000, maybe, a little bit less, 120, whatever it was, to build this apartment building. It just appraised 2 months ago for $1.7 million,
Wow.
right? That is 1,000% return. It's a 10x in
Wow.
60 years. And the tenants paid it off 30 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So my goals like to own, like my first goals, I was like, I want to own 10 of these, 160 units. You know, we make 3,500 a month on this thing. We just cash out refi, we got all of our money back. Own 10 of them, that's $35,000 a month. My tenants pay it down. The cash flow goes up. We just bumped from 925 to 975. We just signed 2 leases. That's $50 a month each. Times 16 units is
Yeah.
$800 a month. I can get a new car for the rest of my life, right? And then the appreciation goes up, the debt goes down, the cash flow goes up. So it's a very long-term play. But my goal right now is to really stack them and not sell them until I'm very old, or
Yeah.
pass them down to my kids.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And are you, now that you've dabbled with both and you've been successful in both, do you like the path that you took? Or if there was an investor coming in saying like, hey, Mike, where should I start? Do I start in single family? Should I start with the fourplex? Should I go big, go with an apartment complex? Like, you having a very good mindset in a viewpoint that not many people would have, what would you suggest with somebody that's trying to get in?
Great question. So I honestly like the path I took. I know a lot of people say just go straight to multifamily, Grant Cardone, all these big names. But I have friends who right now started in multifamily. They're engineers and doctors and had good hearts. They started in 2020 and they're getting wrecked because they like, it's okay to mess up the rehab on a 1,000 square foot house, right? On $100,000 house, you mess it up a little bit, you can survive. But you mess up the rehab on a 200-300 unit apartment building and you get that number wrong, you're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah.
When, you know, so I suggest everyone to go cut your teeth in the single family, go make mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And like I said, the same skills are transferable. Like learning how to do a purchase agreement. Do you want to learn how to do a purchase agreement on a $10 million property or on a $100,000 house, right? Learn how to rehab and estimate repairs and get insurance and taxes and do the whole closing process and working with contractors and then doing it over and over and over again. Like I said, flexing that muscle. You said that a few times. I love that. And it's just building the skill set. So I don't recommend just going into this, like, just go to apartments, buy something big and then hold on to it and whatever and hope it, works out, because you don't know what you don't know, which is like the biggest. I mean, like you can get sideswiped. I have friends right now, they're losing their apartments because they start off in that industry and they just thought it was easy money. And they were buying on variable rate debt, and now interest rates tripled, and now the deal doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
They estimated construction costs wrong, by a few $1,000,000 because it's a tens of millions dollar apartment building, and now they're losing the properties. So I recommend getting started in the single family, get really good at it, and then even partnering. That's like what I did. I partnered with my partner Adam. He had 40 something units.
Yeah.
And I partnered with him on the 6th unit. I found the deal. This is great. This is like the best way to get started. I found the 6-unit apartment building on Facebook Marketplace. I negotiated seller financing, and so we had to put like $65,000 down on his purchase price was like 225 or 205. And so I told my partner Adam, I was like, hey, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't want to mess this up. I've never collected rents before. I don't know the laws of leases and deposits and all that stuff. So I found this deal. Let's go in together. I'll give you majority of the equity. Just make sure I don't mess up, and I'll manage the entire rehab. So
Yeah.
then he's like, oh, like I made it so easy for him to say yes, because he's like, oh, Mike already found a deal, negotiated seller financing. He's going to do the construction part. I already manage my apartments. I can manage 6 more units.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. And then we just started, like, that's how we built that relationship. But adding value to people, like who you want to be, like if you want to be like a flipper, go find someone and add value to them. Like go find them a deal and say like, hey, I found you a deal, because that's what I need. Like as a flipper, I need another house to flip. Go find a deal. You want to learn how to flip houses? Go find me a deal. I'll pay you
Yeah.
for the deal. And then I'm like, hey, you want to see what's like working with contractors before the beginning, the middle, and the after, and learn the entire process? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to get started.
Yeah. I mean, you basically just assume the JV role on that one and
Yeah.
like built in a very good educational piece to it. And you chalk up like, who knows how much money you would have lost on an error. Like, if you would have messed
Oh
up and
yeah.
done it yourself thinking like, "All right, I'll take all the profit. This is gonna be our good one," and you make a $20,000 error. Like,
Yeah.
if you could have been the JV, paid this guy 15 grand, let's just say, to be like your mentor through it, or the
Exactly.
majority. I mean, you save money and you learn the correct way to do it so you don't upset contractors or upset the municipality when you're doing permits,
Yeah.
or like all the toes you can step on.
Exactly, because you don't know what you don't know, and like even one thing like I learned from my multifamily mentor is environmental reports. Like, do you know what an environmental report is? A phase one
No.
environmental. Okay, so in commercial, we don't have this in residential. You're
Yep.
supposed to get a phase one environmental report, because if there's an old oil tank in the ground, or there's like the soil's contaminated,
Yep.
it's your problem if you own the property. Even if the issue happened, like, oh no, someone else did it 50 years ago, it's your problem. Now you got
Yep.
the EPA to deal with, and the fees and fines, and for them to do it's gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars to rectify it, right? So my 6 unit that we bought was actually, it was like in a downtown, and right next to was a little oil change shop. And I got on seller financing, so I didn't have a bank saying, "Hey, Mike, you should do a phase one environmental." But I hired someone to teach me that, so that I can sleep at night. Because like if I didn't know, like, oh my gosh, I should be checking for phase one. And there's an old building, and there's an old house cut up into a 6 unit, so there could have been oil tanks in the ground. It's next to an oil change facility, and to someone that untrained eye wouldn't see that as risk factors, right? Because you don't know.
Yeah.
But I saw those risk factors, but I got a phase one is all good. And then when I was able to sell it, they're like, oh, we need to do a phase one environmental report. The bank's asking for it. I'm like, oh, I did one 2 years ago. Here you go. Right. And
Yeah.
then instead of me like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? Like, what does this mean? And then I'm stuck with a potential big problem. Right.
Yeah.
So,
And I on the agent side, I've only had to deal with that once, but I wasn't hands-on. There
yeah.
was a buyer who was buying vacant land to put up storage units,
Yeah.
and they had to do the environmental test. So like
Yeah.
I I dipped my toe in the water, but I was not hands-on in what is all needed for that one. But yeah, there are some things in the commercial space, and that's the other thing with residential. Um, and maybe this is just a personal thing. I feel like it's a lot more organized in what you need, um, or it's more familiar. But when you get into commercial space, I always think about it like the Wild West. Like there are so many more things. There's all the testing you need. The permits are different. Your licenses are different. You have to apply to like ADA.
Yeah. You often need surveys,
So
and yeah,
it's
it's a
there's
lot
so
more.
much more involved in it
Hmm.
that if you were going to go jump into commercial, to assume the JV role on at least one or two or five deals,
Yeah.
to know that you're going to like touch all your bases and know what you have to do, is a big, just like a, I don't know, bit of advice if you're going to jump off there.
Yes, exactly.
So, but I know we are, excuse me, we are out of time. You've got some work to do here on a Friday, so we'll let you jump off. I appreciate your time. I'm hoping we can connect with you later because I want to see where this multifamily takes you as well. I mean, I know your flips are going to jump to like thousands by the next time we talk to you. Um, but I like rentals. That's where my heart is. So I'm going to keep track and keep tabs on you to see what your rental market does.
Yeah, I love it, man. Thank you very much for having me, Marcus and Dan. And I just threw in my Facebook profile in the chat. Follow me on there. I try to be very active on Facebook. I try to post once a day inside of my Facebook group called Real Estate Wealth Builders. I have like 13,000 followers on Facebook. My name is Mike Mannino. It's a black and white photo. And I highly recommend joining our free Facebook group called Real Estate Wealth Builders, where I'm actually jumping off to do a free training right now on this real estate. It's a real estate investor CRM. So I make a point to post inside there every single day. We have 1,400 members inside of that group right now. So that's like the best way if you want to get in touch with me is go to Facebook, Real Estate Wealth Builders, or you go to our website, rewbuilders.com. That's rewbuilders.com. And there's like free resources. I got how to flip houses, how to wholesale apartments, make $175,000 wholesale fee, and how to join our free Facebook group.
That's awesome. And we'll put all those links in the show notes. So if you're listening to the show, go to the show notes. All that'll be attached there. But amazing information. And
Thanks, man.
congrats on getting there. You built something super cool. So congrats.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys. I'm hope I added value to you and your audience today, and looking forward
Definitely.
to our next conversation sometime soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How many miles do you get to during the show?
Let's see. Good question. Let's see.
That's my last question of the day.
Yep.
Because for the people that aren't watching the show, he's been on a treadmill with a weighted vest this whole show. Breathing has been just flat. Like you couldn't even tell.
With a 20-pound weight vest. I've done 2 miles. I've done 4,400 steps.
That's a
Yeah.
productive show. Educating people, getting healthy. I like it.
Love it, man. All right, guys. I'll see you.
Awesome. Have a
Take
good
it easy.
weekend.
See ya.